Andrew, how we feeling?
Great.
Good. We've been together all day now. This is when it gets a little more relaxing.
I was relaxed before. I'm good.
So, to that, this segment is called Is It This or Is It That? Some may be serious, some maybe not. The first one, is it a New York slice of pizza or is it a New York bagel?
I go with pizza all the time.
Pizza's my favorite too.
Yeah. A New York
Pizza. Yeah.
Not just pizza.
Yeah.
A real slice of a great pie. Can't beat it.
Favorite place?
Catches downtown.
Yeah.
Down by Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. That's right.
Keski. I say catches. Keski.
Keski. Okay.
Keski.
Is it thin crust or
Yes,
that?
It's thin.
Okay. Here's another one for you. Is it a yellow cab or the MTA?
Yellow cab.
Yellow cab.
Yeah. Given a choice, I'll jump in a cab.
Easy, right?
Yeah, it's just easier. I don't mind the MTA at all, but just given a choice.
Yeah, me too.
Took the subway down here today, though. You know, it's
No problem.
right. But if you're telling me I can step right into a cab or
Door to door.
cab,
Okay. Here's one for you. Is it the Mets or is it the Yankees?
Yankees. You
Oh,
don't
I
have
didn't
to
even finish.
that. Born and bred Yankee fan. Nothing to talk about.
Nothing to talk about.
But so when I negotiate a lot,
Okay.
is what I always say. I'm in Yankee Stadium, and their offer, I always say Shea, Citi Field.
Uh-huh.
When they get in, I'm sitting in the front row. I can't even see them. When they get into Yankee Stadium, maybe they'll be in the bleachers. We get into the same stadium, then I'll talk to them. But while they're sitting out in Citi Field, forget about it.
I love it.
I'm playing Major League Baseball. They're playing minor league baseball. And that's what's played over at Citi Field.
Poor Mets fans.
Just telling you how I negotiate.
Ooh, that was tough. Here's another one. Is it the Nets or is it the Knicks?
That's another no-brainer. The real New York team, the Knicks. You know, the Nets. I know them from Newark. They are challenged. The Knicks are always challenged, but at least they're the Knicks. They play in the Garden. You can't beat them.
Even though you guys lose every year.
That's kind of the beauty of it. They makes it New York tough. You got to have the grit. Got to stay in there, long haul. We play the long game in New York.
It's painful.
Yeah.
Is it black or white, or is there some gray?
Always shades of gray.
Mm.
Always shades of gray. So when I negotiate and explain to my clients, that's how I explain offers. I said an offer comes, it's either white or it's black or it's shades of gray in between. Mm-hmm. A white offer is an offer that I don't even call you about, it's so low. A black offer is so high, I'm jumping up and down and screaming, you have to take this. Mm-hmm. They're never going to offer a black offer, and you're never going to take a white offer. Mm-hmm. So everything in between is just a shade of gray.
Shade of gray.
And my job is to make it as dark a shade of gray as possible.
Love that. Let's talk about your vacation style. Is it a European or is it a tropical vacation?
European. I do nothing in the tropics. I don't like the sun. And it's European, but it's really outdoors hiking.
Okay.
I'm not a beach. I need to be isolated and.
So that's how you connect with nature.
Yeah.
Sports night for you. Is it home? Is it a sports bar? Or is it in the crowd?
To watch a game?
Mm-hmm.
I just went to a University of Texas football game with my daughter. It was the first time. It was awesome. But given the choice, I'd be home.
Home.
Watching at home, yeah.
Okay. Are you screaming at the TV?
No. I could care less.
You're just watching it.
Right. I'm watching the story unfold, but I am not getting so emotionally connected that it defines who I am or it's going to affect my emotions.
You said earlier you're always in control of your emotions.
Right. I mean, I pick a team I want to win, but I can't control whether Patrick Ewing hits that foul shot and then it doesn't. I don't want to get into it, but I can't control it, and I'm not going to let it affect me negatively emotionally. I'm not going to have a bad day because this person couldn't perform or execute.
I gotta be like you because I do have bad days when my team doesn't win. In the spirit of family and thinking of Lisa and date nights, is it a dinner in a movie with Lisa or is it a dinner in a Broadway show?
Dinner or Broadway show. Nothing even to talk about. That's her choice.
Oh, that's smart.
That's her choice. Her loves the theater.
Last Broadway show?
Oh, I don't even know. It's recent. I don't even remember.
It sounded like you fell asleep in there.
That's why she hates going with me. Right? It's nap time for me, but
Andrew, we got to do better.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't. It may have been. I know what it was about. It was about. I can't believe I can't think of the name of it. It's the women's movement. It was off Broadway at the Public Theater. I can't even think of the name of the woman who she wrote and produced the whole thing. But it's about the women's movement coming of age and getting. I just can't think of it.
We'll ask Lisa. This one you may know. Handy skills. Is it a DIY project or is it a call the contractor moment?
Call the contractor. If there's a zero I can do myself with my hands. My wife does all the work. I not me. Readily admit.
So I think I know where this is going. In the kitchen, is it a home cooked meal or is it takeout?
Who's cooking?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Right. I mean,
so let's say Lisa.
Home cooked, 100%.
100%. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a cold beer or is it a stiff pour?
A what?
A stiff pour.
Or a cold beer. Stiff pour.
Drink of choice?
Negroni.
Okay. This one may be a really, really tough one. Is it LeBron James or MJ?
MJ. I don't know.
All day.
That's not even tough.
For me either.
100%. I saw him playing in college.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah, he came up and kicked the shit out of Syracuse. I went to Syracuse. In the Carrier Dome. Unstoppable.
Phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
Are all cases handled the same?
If you have a inexperienced, myopic approach to things, but no way. There's a huge difference in the way that cases are handled and should be handled. And it really comes down to the value of the case. And my experience is that a lot of lawyers kind of trick themselves into thinking that they can handle higher valued cases because they're handled the same way as a lower valued case. And the reality is they aren't. The higher valued cases require a completely different type of approach. And one thing in having worked with so many lawyers from across the country is a confidence level that if a lawyer who handles 6-figure cases has never handled a 7-figure case, they're nervous on handling that first multi-million-dollar case.
Sure.
And their fear shouldn't prevent them from doing it. Their fear should drive them to get help and coaching to get them into that 7-figure area. But then there are lawyers who handle 7-figure cases and think handling a 7-figure case is the same as handling an 8-figure case, and that's not true either. And having had the honor of been right up that ladder, I've experienced it. And the best thing to do is ask lawyers for help. There are a lot of lawyers who are more than happy to help, but they aren't handled the same way. They are not negotiated the same way. Your adversaries are of a different caliber. The lawyers who defend 7 and 8 figure cases are not the same caliber of lawyer who defend smaller value
Sure.
cases. And how does that play out? Plays out in negotiations. Insurance companies monitor and they keep the data on what every lawyer does.
Mm-hmm.
And they know and whether or not a lawyer is one to try a case or settle a case. They communicate that with their defense counsel.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole strategy that
They're building up their defense.
they're building up their defense and an expectation that the lawyer ultimately will settle the case. And what I find, and my experience is that the biggest mistake plaintiff lawyers make is that they pick the wrong cases to try.
Mm.
They settle their best cases and are forced to try their worst cases. And I've seen this play out many times. I know plenty of lawyers who have settled really good cases. They may say, well, I settled it because my client wanted the money or for whatever the reason may be. But that is their best case should not have been settled. And then what happens? They're left to try their worst cases. Why? Because the insurance company wants to take advantage of them and force them to invest money to try and stomp out their motivation. So I've seen lawyers who have tried cases that really shouldn't have been tried, but they've been forced to try, and then they lose. And they lose, and it really hits their desire to try future cases because they lose the confidence. And trying cases is all about confidence. So I always try to help lawyers anytime I can on all of their cases. But the first thing I say is pick the right case to try. Have the courage to try the good case. Don't be forced to try the bad case because it's a ding to your confidence. And don't let the fact that you may lose a case, frankly, that you should have lost.
Right.
Let's not forget about that. There's a reason why the insurance company has kept such a low number and saying, go try the case, because it's a case you should lose. It's the rare case. Of course, we hear about it. We celebrate it all the time. There was only a $20,000 offer and $1 million verdict. Well, you certainly hear about that. That's the rarity. What happens more frequently is it was a $20,000 offer and it was a no cause. It was a $10,000 and it was a no cause because there's reasons why they're only offering that. Settle those cases. Don't let the insurance company force you to try those. But on the good cases, if you have a case you think is worth $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, what I would encourage you to do is demand $7 million.
Yep.
Demand $7 million and tell the insurance company you're not budging. Then see what happens. Make sure your client's on board. It's easy to easy to have your client on board when they're offering zero.
How do you get your clients on board?
When they're offering zero, there's no choice but to go forward. With a $7 million demand, they offer zero. We're never going to make an offer against that demand. Perfect. Perfect. And then you let your client know they're offering nothing. We're going forward, and I'm optimistic and confident we're going to do really well. I can't control what the jury's going to do, but I'm optimistic we're going to do well. Those are the cases that you want to try because then you have all the upside. You have all the upside.
Andrew, let's talk about your negotiation skills.
Sure.
I've seen you in action, and you seem to draw a lot of strength from having those conversations. Walk us through that scenario.
Well, negotiation, we don't spend enough time learning the skill of negotiations. I teach on negotiations, negotiating with emotional intelligence. 99.5% of our cases are resolved via negotiation, yet we spend all our time and energy working on trial skills. As much time as we spend on trial skills, which I think is really important to do, you must also invest in yourself in negotiation skills. Negotiation it's a skill set. We are not born negotiators.
Mm-hmm.
And people can think, oh, I know how to negotiate and just, oh, I give a demand, I'll get an offer, reduce demand, get an offer. There's so much more complexity to it and layers to it, especially if you want to negotiate with emotional intelligence. You have to realize, first of all, negotiations. I could talk for hours about it, so I'm going to consolidate it all the way down. Negotiations don't start until the other side says no. Okay. Not until you hear a no did a negotiation start. Everything else is what I think of as pre-negotiation. And then the art of negotiation is getting past no and driving to the number that you want that case to end up at. And then ultimately, whatever the number is, you're disappointed with it, that they stole the case from you. It's important to communicate that the case was stolen from you, even though you've exceeded the number that you believe the case is worth. When the other side believes they've taken advantage of you, they'll be open to negotiations in the future.
Interesting. That last point was very interesting. Let's talk about inventory management. You and I both know putting a value on a case can sometimes be a little complex. You've been doing this for a really, really long time. You've mastered a process. Some of us don't have a process, or we think we have a process, and we're just not there yet. What's your take on inventory management and getting your team involved too? So, two-part question.
Inventory management from managing a law firm is the essence of what we do. When I say it's the essence of what we do, of course, I'm looking at it from a business perspective, and I'm setting aside the lawyer part, but I'm talking on the business side. And the business side is you have to know the value, and I'll say it in a sterile way, the value of your inventory. How much are all of your cases worth? And divide them up into subsections. That cases have a value of 100,000, 0 to 100, 100 to 250, 250 to 500, 500 to a million and up. And then you want to focus your energies on having processes on how to move the value of the case up the chain. And there are certain things you can do on files. And what is really important is make sure the value is transparent to everyone in your organization. Everybody needs to know the value of the cases that they're working on, so they deploy their energy, their human capital, into the cases where they'll have the highest return.
That makes sense.
And I'll just say the same thing using numbers. If you have a case in your office that you're going to have a $10,000 fee, $100,000 fee, or $1 million fee. As owners of law firms, we have the obligation to make sure the client who receives and pays us $1 million fee gets $1 million worth of services. Right? So how do you get those $1 million worth of service? Everybody in the organization has to know that these are the cases we work on first.
Sure.
The higher valued cases, and they require and should require more investment of time and energy by everybody in your staff. But if you don't manage that process, it's not going to just magically happen.
So talk about just the management side of it. How do you get your team on board with understanding this is our fiber, this is what we're doing? And when you have, I call it compartmentalizing these values in your cases, while I still want you to treat every client the same, understand where I want you to spend your time. How do you get your team on board, a new person joining the firm?
Well, it's through written communications, oral communications, trainings, videos. I've done videos that in essence explain what I just defined. And you said, although we want to treat every client the same, we treat every client the same. 100%. We treat them with care, compassion, and concern. Treating somebody the same isn't the same as how much work we do on their file, right? If we do less work on their file, we're going to earn a $10,000 fee and we're going to earn a $100,000 fee. We still treat them the same, but the amount of work and energy and effort may be different. right? People who pay us a $10,000 fee still should be treated with the respect that they're entitled
Sure.
to, right? And frankly, what I've just outlined for you, I outlined for clients, right? Clients understand the basic concept that they will pay for the services that you're going to deliver,
Mhm.
and they don't expect you to deliver more services than that which they're going to pay
Sure.
for. And I've asked clients, at the end of this, you're paying us $100,000. We're going to give you $100,000 of service. But is it fair for us to give you $1 million of service for a $100,000 fee? And they always say, of course not. So it's about being open and transparent.
Transparency. And you also set expectations. Earlier, you talked about doing surveys because you want to know, you, the business owner, want to know. How many times do you have to pivot knowing what you know post a survey?
Very rare. Because those surveys, everybody receives the survey, so they know what's being asked. And I don't know if it's the tail wagging the dog or the dog wagging the tail when it comes to surveys. Meaning, is it people give great service because they know they're going to be surveyed, or the survey drives the good service? Or I don't know if I said that the same way, but you understand the point that I'm making. So we've been doing surveys since like 2000 for over 23 years, close to 24 years. Of all the things I've done, and I've done a lot of things, I would say that is right up at the top of driving the quality of services in my firm.
Well, Andrew, this has been phenomenal. I cannot thank you enough for your partnership. I want to say God bless. You're just a wonderful human being, and you were just so open with our audience members. So thank you.
Well, I just want to say it's been my pleasure, and I wish you and Cartiga the best of luck, because you guys are a great organization and do great things.
We thank you, Andrew. So with that, to our audience members today, another series with Andrew Finkelstein, Beyond the Bar. Thank you all for joining us. Stay tuned for our next guest.